Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden. Welcome to Shifting Perspectives. And if you are new to my channel, I am a philosopher, psychologist, sociologist of 30 years. So I'm talking about boundaries and basically breaking down the vision of responsibility. That is exactly what boundaries are. So there's a lot of confusion as to exactly what we're doing with boundaries, which why a lot of people don't use them, which is why a lot of people are just in the dark with them. And boundaries, no matter how I cut this, no matter how I maneuver this, it keeps coming down to the same thing over and over again. Every problem that we have can be solved with boundaries. Every mental issue comes down to boundaries. So a boundary, and this is true for prevention and for resolution. So if you have, prevention and resolution. So basically, if I were to completely dissect all of mental illness, we're looking at this one thing solid is what is your priority? Your priority determines exactly which direction you're going to take your healing. And it comes down to people pleasing, really people pleasing. You either are pleasing people or you are pleasing the self. Now, our society and our religions, especially our religions and our culture, is gun ho on throwing away and destroying the self. So we are cultivated, we are nurtured to people please. The sooner we accept this about our culture, the sooner we're going to be able to accept it and set our priorities straight. So when you prioritize people over the self, what that ends up doing is you end up asking questions like acceptance, belonging, love are now contingent upon what will make other people happy instead of focusing on what will make the self happy. Now, when you get boundaries in place, boundaries, the first thing that boundaries do is it prioritizes the self over people. And that's really it. In addition, what you are doing is basically establishing a division of responsibility. Now, responsibility is not the same thing as accountability. Not at all. Accountability is the fifth ethic. Responsibility is something completely different. So we're going to take a minute right now. We are going to go over the difference between responsibility and accountability. Responsibility is a state or fact of having a duty to deal with. Accountable is required to justify actions. Big, big difference. So it's almost, we're talking about whose duty is whose job this is. Accountable is there's self-accountable and holding other people accountable. Accountability, one day the government will learn this. You cannot hold other people accountable. That is a lie. That is the absolute complete destruction of accountability. There can only be self accountability and nothing else. That's a real big glitch in this is what I call illogical insanity from our system. Holding yourself accountable is saying, I am responsible and I will make this right. It's the I will make this right that's accountable. Responsible means I did it. That's all it means. I did this. Responsible means I should, or it is my job to do this. But a person who's not accountable will say, no, it's not. So there's a lot of confusion as to the difference between responsibility and accountability. And they are not the same thing. No one can hold another person accountable for their actions. Because if the mentality, if the priority has not been ethically internalized, you can try and punish somebody, this is where a correction facility will say, we're going to hold you accountable. So you put somebody in jail, and the person in jail learns nothing, is released, repeats the crime. It's because they're not being accountable. You hold somebody accountable for the actions, but they haven't internalized it because you're trying to make them be responsible. That's you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The horse choosing to drink is accountability. The horse experiencing dehydration from not drinking is responsibility. That's the difference. Accountability has to be a choice. It has to be a personal choice. Responsibility is not a choice. That's what irresponsibility is. That is exactly what irresponsibility is. It is, you have something you should be doing. You have the choice to take responsibility for this, and you're not. So now you're irresponsible. Now you can be irresponsible and also hold yourself accountable. This is fun. This is fun. Yes, I am responsible for making sure that I eat healthy. I am responsible for that. But I'm going to eat these chips instead and not hold myself accountable. Or I'm going to hold myself accountable for my shitty diet. And here I am drinking coffee, smoking weed, drinking wine, not eating healthy, eating junk food. I am holding myself accountable and I'm still choosing to be irresponsible. Yes, this is my fault. And I'm still choosing to be irresponsible about it. That is the difference between responsible and accountable. So when you decide to take on responsibilities, or I'm sorry, when you decide to set boundaries, what you are doing is basically deciding who is responsible for what emotions. This is a big this is it right here, is emotional responsibility. A lot of people struggle with this. You are not responsible for the emotions of other people. You are not responsible for the emotions of other people. If other people internalize your authenticity, that does not mean your authenticity is the problem. A lot of people do this, where you are your authentic, happy self. Somebody who's mentally unstable absorbs that authenticity and it hurts them because they're so insecure. So they project their pain and their abuse onto you. And you take that abuse and you go, oh my God, I am so sorry. This is why we say, I'm sorry. Stop doing it. If you use the words, I'm sorry, that is a red flag that you are taking emotional responsibility for other people. If you use the words, I'm sorry, you are most likely an empath who is taking on 200% of emotional responsibility, putting yourself in a position where you are holding yourself responsible for the emotions of others. To stop this, you have to shift your priority from people pleasing over to self-preservation. And that's the problem. In order to fix that, you have to value the self. And that's where it all starts. That is it right there. If you do not value the self, you are forever going to people please and put the priority of people pleasing over you. Bottom line, the longer you put people pleasing in front of you, the longer you're going to avoid boundaries because you are going to avoid basically that division of responsibility. You're going to not address it or balance it or handle it properly. Internalizing and projecting is something that comes up a lot. Internalizing and projecting is a spectrum. I'm going to go ahead and set this here because this is a whole nother topic and I need to dissect it and I just haven't gotten around to it. And I'm finally at that point where I'm ready to rip apart internalizing and projecting. But it's going to be it's going to be a lot. So I'm going to go ahead, stop it here, and then restart with internalizing and projecting to dissect it even further. If you love shit like this, like, subscribe, follow, comment below. Let me know what part of the show resonates with you. And if you want to learn more about what we offer, take a look at the link below. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.